At the bottom of Gravois Bluffs. Visit normsbargainbarn.com.
That's normsbargainbarn.com.
This is the Verizon Extra Inning Show. Verizon, the most reliable 5G in St. Louis.
Herrera bounces it to third. A throw to second for one. On to first, a double play, and this ball game has come to an end. Around the horn, 5-4-3. And the Diamondbacks have won the first game of the three-game series, 7-3.
That's a disappointing start to the post-All-Star break portion of the season. Welcome into the Extra Inning Show right here on KMOX. My name is Matt Pauley as we approach midnight here with you late night tonight following a Cardinals loss in Arizona to the Diamondbacks. As always, if you want to join us, multiple ways for you to do so. You can call or text 314-436-7900. 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. If you are watching us on the video stream live, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you can go ahead and just leave a comment in the chat. Or if you are, or if you want to tweet at me, you can do that as well. At Matt Pauley on air. MattPauley on air as we try to come to wherever you happen to be, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, on the radio, audio streaming, wherever it is, we are here for you to talk Cardinals baseball. Certainly, like I said, that was a disappointing performance. That was not what you were hoping for coming out of the second half or coming out of the All-Star break as they lose tonight by a 7-3 score. The Extra Inning Show is being presented by Graybar. Graybar is your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Disappointing performance from Andre Pallante. Can't make it out of the fifth inning. Gave up the 3 runs in the second, 2 more in the third. Final line for him, 6 runs, 5 earned on 9 hits, going just 4 2/3 innings. If you've listened to me a lot, you know that I don't start looking for change from a starting pitcher until it's really 3 straight not so good starts or bad starts. That's 2 in a row now, though, for Pallante, and 2 outings where it just isn't good enough. His last time out against Washington on July 9th, he went 6 innings, allowing 7 runs, and then he follows that up today, going 4 2/3, so he can't get out of the 5th inning, and he gives up 6 runs, 5 earned. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here when I say that's not good enough. That does not put you in a position to win ball games, and that's a problem. And right now, offensively, and I hope you've been with us for a while, if you heard the end of Oliver Marmol's comments when he was asked about Nolan Gorman, basically he said they're going to get some more information, but this is something that's probably going to be sticking around for a while. That tells me that we are likely to see a move tomorrow with Nolan Gorman ending up on the injured list. That probably would mean that Thomas Jaycee is going to be right back one day after being sent down. But that's when reading between the lines, I feel like that is a probability. I don't think if Gorman's availability is going to be, he couldn't play the day before the All-Star break. So that's 5 days, and then you come back and he's in the initial lineup and he tested and he just can't go after 5 days of not playing. That tells you that there is something significant going on, and you would think that he is likely to end up on the injured list, which is a disappointment because Gorman has been somebody who lately has been one of the better hitters on this team. And I'm not here to take shots at this Cardinals lineup and who they are offensively, but for example, today's lineup, and we talked about this a little bit leading into the game, it's not a lineup that scares you right now. Your top 4 hitters, I'm very comfortable with. Brendan Donovan, Ivan Herrera, Alec Burleson, Wilson Contreras. Those 4 guys are guys that I have a ton of confidence in. It's the bottom of the order, and to be fair, these guys actually had good days. Mason Wynn went 2 for 4, Pedro Pajes went 2 for 4, and Victor Scott II hit a home run really, really hard. And Walker hit the heck out of a ball too, and it took a spectacular catch for him to be kept off the board in terms of extra bases, in terms of hits at all. But the performance today notwithstanding, the bottom 5 in today's order of a 243 hitting Nolan Arenado, a 258 hitting Mason Wynn, who has his numbers have gotten unfortunately worse month by month. And I think we all know that Wynn's got a much better hitter inside of him, and we're just kind of waiting for that to come back out. Maybe tonight the 2-for-4 day was the start of that. I thought that when he had the 6-for-12 series against Washington, I kind of thought that might be the start of it. It ended up not being that way. But Pedro Pages, even with his 2 hits tonight, he's still hitting just 213. And then Victor Scott II, a 235 hitter. That group, unfortunately, is not a group that's going to score you a whole lot of runs. So you need to get the most that you can out of your pitching. And right now, and look, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom here. I'm listening to myself talk, and it kind of sounds that way. Because I mean, we can't gloss over the fact that this is a team that's played pretty good baseball this season, and I think they're surprising with their record of 51-47. But they've certainly come back to earth here recently, and right now it's not especially good. Just talking about the offense and who they are from an offensive profile, and then you follow that up with what they're getting from a pitching standpoint, and you've got 3 guys in the rotation who I don't think there's a lot of confidence in right now from Cardinals fans. I don't think you have a lot of confidence in Eric Fetty. I don't think you have a lot of confidence in Miles Michaelis. And I think the confidence has started to wane when it comes to Andre Palante as well. So it's Gray and Liberator, and then kind of everybody else after that. So that's my takeaway on this one tonight. Again, if you want to chime in, and we're starting to get some messages in here, and we'll take a look at those coming up in just a few moments. Again, if you do want to chime in, the ways to get in contact with us, you can call or text 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call or text. You tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air. Or for those of you who are watching the stream right now on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, you can leave a comment in the chat, and we will get to those coming up in just a few moments. So we will take a break, and we'll come back with more in a moment. The Cardinals lose today. They fall to the Diamondbacks 7-3. This is the Extra Innings Show on KMOX.
At Sandberg Phoenix, we are more than just a law firm. Our attorneys are
bar does that.
Now, back to the Verizon Extra Innings Show.
Back at it here on KMOX. We appreciate you being with us this evening as the Cardinals, they end up losing to the Arizona Diamondbacks, starting off the unofficial second half of the season, not the mathematical halfway point. We got to that point quite some time ago. But the Cardinals do begin the post-All-Star break portion of the season, and they end up losing today to Arizona by that 7-3 score. Again, if you want to chime in, you can do so by calling or texting 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. You can leave a message on the video chat for those of you who are watching on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, or you can send me a message, or I guess tweet at me was the way to say that. You can tweet at me at Matt Pauley on air, MattPauley on air is the way to get in contact with the program. Chad sends in a message, says that he traveled from Southwest Missouri to Phoenix for the series. He said the team just seemed lifeless, going on to say, I hope Sonny can help the team bounce back and the offense get going again. They looked bad all the way around tonight. Yeah, it was not a great performance. Chad goes on to say Palante was getting squeezed some by the umpire, but overall he just wasn't good. I was taken back a little bit by the way Oliver Marmol opened up his post-game press conference tonight in just how blunt. Blunt. I'll go with that. What he was when talking about Palante, obviously, and I'll play just the first part of this. We already played all of Ollie earlier, but Ollie can say it better than I can when talking about what Palante did and what the issues were with Palante tonight.
Didn't get ahead of enough guys, had to work his way back in accounts, missed over the heart of the plate, often a lot of contact, and the majority of it not at people. So led to a lot of runs.
There you go. I mean, that's a good breakdown right there. I guess we can let Ollie speak for me in this situation. There it is. I mean, just not a lot of good stuff from Palante. I guess you can look at what he did in the fourth inning when he put up a 0 after he'd given up the 2 runs in the third. Like it felt like he found it a little bit, but he came back out. He gave up a run in the 5th inning. I really like Andre Palante, and I think when he's on, it can be really, really good. And he's a guy who can pitch deep into games. Just it didn't work for him. Today. Let's grab a message coming in from Nick. He says, "I'm just as worried about starting pitching next year. It'll be Gray, Libby, McGreevy, Palante, and who next year is going to be an experiment for pitching as well." First off, Quinn Matthews is probably in the conversation more next year. Maybe he gets into the conversation at some point this year still. The injury that he had slowed him down. I would have thought he was going to be part of this at some point by now. I also wouldn't have thought that McGreevy would still be down at AAA, and he is. So I'm 0 for 2 when it comes to that. So if you start with Gray and Libby and then go to McGreevy, I don't think it's a guarantee for Palante. And I would think that by the time we're talking in mid-July, and I'm not trying to put too much on a guy who hasn't made a professional debut yet, but Liam Doyle's not that far away. And we see these college pitchers get to the big leagues pretty quickly. So I think Doyle could be in the mix as well. I'm not going to bring up Ting Hence. Like I know I said his name. I'm not going to bring him up in terms of being a legit possibility for the rotation. I have a really, really hard time when believing that he's going to be a starting pitcher in the big leagues. He just is not getting enough innings built up in the minor leagues for that to be a real thing. But Nick, I think I would push back a little bit on you. Now, some of those guys are unproven, right? Like McGreevy's unproven. McGreevy, and so, I hate when I go down, get pushed into this corner, and I'm not mad at you, Nick. I'm just kind of frustrated in the situation because I want Michael McGreevy to be on this team. I think a lot of people want Michael McGreevy to be on this team. And I think Michael McGreevy is better than a number of pitchers in the rotation, or at least gives you a better chance to win than a number of the pitchers that are in the rotation right now. So that is a very pro McGreevy stance. I feel like sometimes because of some of the outings that McGreevy has had, that people start to view him as this top of the rotation, 1 or 2 big time difference making guy. And as much as I like Michael McGreevy, that's not really what he profiles out to be. He projects out to be like a 3 or a 4, a really solid guy that you have in the middle of your rotation. And there's nothing wrong with that. The Cardinals need to produce a lot more of that. And so I think right now, if you put McGreevy in the rotation, obviously Sonny's your 1 and Liberatore, I think, is your 2. And then after that, how are you slotting them in? A lot of people, and it wouldn't take much to convince me, a lot of people would put McGreevy in that 3rd spot right now. Kind of depends on how Andre Palante is going. If we have this conversation 2 weeks ago, we're probably putting Palante in that spot because he was on a really good run. And hopefully for Palante, he gets back onto a good run. But it's that's where McGreevy is at right now. Jeremy says he is a young Matt Morris. Matt Morris was really good. Matt Morris was really good. Looks like Matt Morris. Okay, so okay, I guess there's some comps there just in terms of style and everything. But look, if he turns into Matt Morris, then he is a top of the rotation guy, and everything I just said is incorrect, and I will be more than happy to be wrong on that one. Gladly more than happy to be wrong with that one. All right, let's get some of the text messages that have come in. Again, if you want to chime in, if you want to call or text, 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. Text message from the 256 says, people can complain about the pitchers all they want. If the Cardinals can't score, it really doesn't matter what they do. 3 runs is not scoring. It's below average. Pause the text message. Matt Pauley adds in, it was no runs through 8 innings. They got 3 runs late. So, I mean, this is I think even the 3 runs doesn't totally tell the story of what the Cardinals did offensively today. It was not a good offensive day. They happened to get 3 runs in the 9th inning of a somewhat non-competitive game. The text continues. Can't expect the pitching staff to always give up a couple runs, but this was always going to be a growing pain season, and that's what it is. Tony sends in that message. I think the season... Look, if we're being really honest about things, it kind of feels like things are starting to slip away a little bit right now, right? I don't think I'm breaking any news when I say that. Does this team have the ability to turn things around? Yeah, I believe in a bunch of guys on this team, but the offense is a problem. I went through the lineup earlier. The bottom 5 guys are just not performing right now, even though some of those guys had good days today, and maybe this is the start of something. The bottom 5 guys in the order just are not producing in a way that you need them to produce to be able to score a lot of runs consistently. So we get into this weird world where we start arguing, well, whose fault is it? Is it pitching's fault or is it hitter's fault? Should we be talking more about the pitchers or the hitters? Should we be saying, hey, you know what? You can't win games when you're scoring only 3 runs, or hey, you can't win games when you're giving up 7 runs. Like it's all together, right? It's all together, and everything needs to be a little bit better right now. Chip sends in a text. He says the Cardinals currently have 3 starting pitchers with an ERA over 5 over the last 3 weeks. Why are they continuing to throw them out there? Pozo has a great batting average, yet he sits on the bench. Pages has slowed down offensively and defensively. Yeah, Chip, so there's a few things in there. First off, the Cardinals are going to have a hard time replacing more than one starting pitcher because you have Michael McGreevy, and then you could put Matz back into the rotation. There's a couple somewhat interesting pieces down at AAA, but not they're not plug and play into the big leagues. Let's put it that way. So, you walk before you crawl. I think the first thing we can all agree to is that it'd be nice to see Michael McGreevy get into this big league rotation and see what he does. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who he goes in there for, but then the conversation can advance past that once he is in there and you start to go from there. So that would be my first response to what you said there, Chip. As far as Joel Pozo, and Pozo has been of every player on the roster who has been the biggest surprise this year, it's Pozo, right? A guy who was basically signed really late in the offseason, and he was signed for one job, to be a veteran guy at AAA to tandem with Jimmy Crooks. And what he's turned into is a really important piece at the big league level. Would I like to see Pozo getting some more time behind the plate? I think I would, just because if the Cardinals were scoring a ton of runs and Pedro Pages was the one offensive player who really wasn't doing anything, I wouldn't care. You can have a guy or two in the lineup that doesn't produce, that isn't a guy who's a big contributor to the run scoring output. But when you've got as many guys right now in the lineup, and when you've got a team that's just not scoring enough runs, you got to go find your offense. And I do think that Joel Pozo brings you some offense. Now, I'm not trying to dismiss the impact also of Pedro Pages. Chip says it feels like Pages has slowed down offensively and defensively. I think Pages is a good defensive catcher. In terms of a few more pitches get by him than I would like. So in terms of pass balls and wild pitches, I think from a defensive standpoint, that's the only thing I really take issue with him. I think he is an exquisite game caller, and I think the pitchers trust him a ton. And that is why he is somebody who is out there just about every single day. And again, if the Cardinals were producing runs at a higher rate, I'd be fine with that. You would not hear, if the Cardinals were scoring a bunch of runs and Pages was doing offensively exactly what he's doing right now, and we got messages saying, man, Pozo needs to be in there more, look at what he's doing offensively, I'd be pushing back on that in a very big way, because I would be sitting here telling you, well, Pages, his impact on pitchers, the confidence they have in him, his ability to call a game, that's the most important thing right now. So he's got to be in there. But during a period where you're not scoring runs, I'm a believer in adjust to that. So yeah, I think I would like to see Pozo in there a little bit more often. I don't think he's a bad defensive catcher. I just don't think he has the confidence of the pitching staff the way that Pages does, and that's where they're at. That's where they're at right now. 314-436-7900, 314-436-7900. That's how you call. That's how you text. I should probably check my Twitter before we wrap up this show just to make sure nobody has sent in a message there. Nope, haven't got any tweets tonight. That is okay. But yeah, we're just about going to wrap things up here as we are well past midnight. Now 11 minutes past midnight, 12:11, and appreciate you being with us. Jeremy, by the way, speaking of Jimmy Crooks, says they need to put Crooks onto the roster. Do they? I don't know. I don't of all the things that this team, like we just talked about the Pozo thing. They've got a guy who they can put in there. I haven't looked at his offensive numbers here recently. I'm gonna look up at those before we get out of here. At Memphis this year, he's hitting 256, 11 home runs, 752 OPS. That's okay. Let's see, what has he done lately? Month of July has been a good month for him. He's a 306 hitter in the month. Got an OPS about 850 or so. I just, of all the issues that the Cardinals have, I don't know if that's one that I am overly, if I'm overly worried about at the time. Jeremy adds in to say just to see what he's like. They saw him in spring. There's nothing pushing right now. There's issues with this team. I don't think there's any issues on that one. Our friend Walt sending in a message says they've rode the split personality design for 60% of the season, develop and compete at the same time. The starting pitching staff is making the decision on what path to follow for the final 30%. That's a real thing. Walt, good message. That is a real thing. And if you've heard me here on KMOX over the last day or so, I've said I'm not interested in the buy or sell conversation. I think it's a dumb with all. And Walt, I'm not saying this towards you because that wasn't what you were sending. I'm just saying this out into the universe. I don't think it's a fruitful conversation because it's going to become clear, and maybe what we saw tonight is part of the process of it becoming clear as the season moves along and we inch closer and closer to the end of the month. We'll see how the team has played, and I think we'll have a very good idea. Is there a scenario where it's still murky a day or two before the trade deadline? Yeah, that's a possibility. And if that happens, then we'll address it at that point. And then the should they buy, should they sell conversation becomes an actual, real, fruitful conversation. Right now, I don't think it's any of those things. Right now, I would say that in all likelihood, it's going to present itself in a way that we can probably make the decision and they can make the decision, and it's going to be a pretty obvious decision to be made. But to Walt's point, if they don't start getting more out of starting pitching, it's going to be clear. When 60%, and that's the number there. When 3 out of your 5 starters have more often than not lately not given you much of a chance to win. Miles Michaels had the one good start. To be fair, Andre Palante tonight, I'm not trying to completely throw this man under the bus because he's been mostly good this year. And in fact, before his last 2 starts, so his third start ago was fantastic. But we are seeing way too many of these games from Fedde, Michaelis, and Palante where they're just not keeping you in the game. And if all 3 of those guys, they don't have to be superstars. They don't have to pitch you 7 innings every night. They don't have to throw a shutout ball. But this is a rotation built on guys whose minimum requisite job is to keep you in games. And right now, too many of those guys are doing anything but that. And that is a problem. And that's resulting in losses. And as the losses pile up, that decision that you're making at the end of the month is going to potentially become more and more clear. This is a key, integral part of the season going into the trade deadline. And man, I really want the Cardinals to be playing at a level where the organization feels like adding something has value, that there is at least a door open that could result in them getting to the postseason. Because whether they get to the postseason or not, I think there is tons of value in playing in games that matter down the stretch of the season. And I want these younger guys on the team to experience that. I think that's something that can pay out dividends in future years, and you don't want that to slip away the way it slipped away last year. They were right there in it at the trade deadline last year, and they made the move for Fedde and Pham, and I thought those were great moves. I'm not going to come, has the move worked out? No, Fedde, they've lost a lot more Fedde starts than they've won since he became a Cardinal. But I thought that was a great move at the time, and I gave John Mozeliak all the credit in the world. And just because now as time has gone by, the move doesn't look as good, we can't go down a path of revisionist history and say it wasn't a good move at the time. It absolutely was. What's on Deck, presented by Chesterfield Fence and Deck. The sign you have the very best. ChesterfieldFence.com. Game 2 of the series coming up technically later on today, Saturday night. Sonny Gray on the mound looking for his 10th win of the year. He's 9-3, 3.50 ERA. Ryan Nelson is going to make the start for the Diamondbacks, 5-2. 3.68 ERA, 6:15 first pitch. That means our coverage is set to begin at 5:20. Appreciate you being with us. Appreciate you staying up late with us. It is 12:17 in the morning, and we are talking Cardinals baseball after a tough one tonight, but we're going to be done for now. This has been the Extra Innings Show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Joe Potts got you for the next 2 days, and then I'll be back with you coming up on Monday right here on your home of the Cardinals, 104.1 FM KMOX.
They are all